Hi there, everybody. You made it to Fatherhood Friday, brought to you by the Preacher Dad podcast. My name's Jared, and while I do a bit of preaching, I also do some farming on the side. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what we do and how we do it. And I hope that you'll stick around and listen. Maybe you get some tips for your homestead, get some ideas, and I hope we give you some good things to think about. I'd like to remind y'all, okay, pardon me. I'd like to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by Cornerstone Fellowship. Cornerstone Fellowship is a small little country church just north of Toomsboro, Georgia, and we love Jesus very much, and we would love to show you how we love Christ. We would love to love Him with you, point you to Jesus. We are all about Jesus at Cornerstone Fellowship. So why don't you come down and check us out? You can find us online at cornerstonefellowship-ga.org. That's cornerstonefellowship-ga.org. We would love to see you. You can find a map. You can hear some sermons. You can find a statement of faith, all that stuff on the website. So please come and check us out. And without any further delay, let's start Fatherhood Friday. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again today for Fatherhood Friday. And tonight, we have a treat for you. You only have me and Matt. That's it tonight. The Fatherhood panel is smaller again, a little more focused and concentrated. And tonight, we're going to discuss homesteading and hobby farming. It's the not the big guys, but the little guys, and what we do and how we do it, and really why we do it as well. And my brother Matt has had a good bit of experience in this area, along with myself and our wives, of course, have helped a lot. But Matt, share with us a little bit about your journey into homesteading and farming.
Yeah, so growing up, because that's where I kind of got a little bit of interest in it. We had Jersey milk cows. Do you have a Jersey, or what kind do you have?
We do.
You have a Jersey?
Yeah, full-blooded. A2.
Does she have the horns that kind of
No.
come towards the? Oh, she doesn't.
She's dehorned.
Oh, okay. But they're such pretty cows and sweet. Oh, I loved them. We had Daisy and Holly and Eve, and we name them. We had them, and
right.
I'm sure like you get, we could get a couple of gallons a day. I think it was great. And we had a pump, like a machine that we used.
Oh, really?
I know you don't. I know you do it by hand, but
we hand milk.
What now?
We hand milk her, and she is very docile, like you were saying. She's a very great disposition.
Sweet cow. Yeah. I love that milk. So good. Oh, I haven't had any in probably 15 years, but
really? Oh,
yeah,
man,
fresh,
you got to come and see me.
Fresh milk. Oh, goodness. And so we did that obviously for a while. And we had probably 10 acres in pasture in the front of our house growing up that we were able to, 5 acres on each side of the driveway. So we moved them back and forth. And then we had bees. I didn't do much with the bees.
Bees when you were younger, you did?
Yeah, I mean, my dad had some hives, but I never really. He was, and we'll get into it probably, but he was one of the bee farmers where he would look at them about 2 days a year. He would check on them at one point, and then he would open it up the next time and get the honey. So he didn't do much at all with them.
Wow.
But he had them, and they stung me several times. And besides that, we had a few chickens too. So, but growing up though,
how many chickens did you grow up with?
Not many.
Oh.
Not many. Since I left home, he's had 20 or 30, but we had a few. I know we had some roosters at one point, and they were awful. I was on crutches at one point, had a cast on my leg, and they'd come up to me, and I'd hit them with my crutches and kick them on my cast, my casted leg. And anyway, they were awful roosters. But anyway, so like a lot of people probably, and probably like yourself, at some point I'm like, what should I get started with? I really want to do animals. I don't have At the time, my yard was probably a half an acre, and I had 2 acres in the woods. That's about all I had. I'm like, what could I do here? So I had a little garden, like a 10 by 20, 30-foot garden, not that big. And then I just got some chickens. I had 6 chickens, built a little homemade coop, whatever I could find around the house, an old door. And, it looked ugly, but it worked. So started with the chickens, a good gateway animal, right?
That's right. You start with chickens. The next thing you know, you're a full-time farmer. It just starts with chickens.
Well, a lot of my plans that I have in life, I have them, but I don't really do anything with them. Or I don't get past, step one. But I did have a plan to start with chickens and then move to bees. And I did that. I was really blessed.
Why did you pick bees next? Just because you're more familiar with that, or was there a strategy involved with that?
Well, I guess it was probably like, hey, Dad, what's the next easiest one to do?
Yeah.
And I told you he spends 2 days a year working on them, so they were super easy for him. But no, there was a strategy. Like y'all do, we make our own bread, and then my oldest daughter, she sells bread. She'll sell. I mean, she bakes 10 or 12 loaves a week, and so we maybe eat 2. So she sells the rest.
Wow.
And so we're going through a lot of honey. And as you know, and as everyone knows, honey's very expensive. So I started thinking about it a year or 2 ago, and the Lord just put me in contact with the right person. And he's an older man in his late 60s, and he was, he had been doing it for a long time and wanted to get out of the business. And so he sold me 4 beehives or colonies or whatever you want to call them.
He sold you the whole colony with bees and everything?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So he sold me basically he charged me $400, and I got 4 groups of bees and enough boxes for probably, 7 different hives, 3 or 4 boxes high. So I've got 20 something boxes, tons of frames. So all of that for $400. And he gave me a spinner. Deal. He was just.
Oh, you got an extractor with the deal too?
An extractor.
Oh, Matt, what a steal.
I know. I was so thankful.
That's incredible.
So I got them last year in March, and I ended up, we had, how many gallons? 14 gallons of honey last year, something like that, maybe 12 gallons of honey. And so it was 2 overwintered beehives, I guess, what you call them. And then 2 nukes is what they were, which are like the newer ones that were from a split. Anyway, so I ended up catching 3 swarms last year. So I had 7 going into the winter. And I'm like, should I? I know you could do nothing, and hopefully they live. You could put a lot of work into them and treating them for mites and winterizing them and all that kind of stuff, feeding them sugar all winter long. You can do all of that, and they still might die. Well, I chose to do it all, and every one of them lived. And we had some cold weather. I kept the sugar in there all winter, and so I have 7 out there right now. And so this year, if they make like I think they'll make, we'll be able to sell some honey, and we should be able to make a few $100s, I would think. So, long answer.
My daughter.
Go ahead.
My daughter's done a good bit of learning about bees. She's got 2 solid colonies, and we're trying to. She caught a third one this spring. We're trying to get them into a hive, and we had a weird thing happen with another swarm where we tried to get the queen into a swarm trap. Like they gathered on a tree. We tried to pick them up and put them in the swarm trap. They wouldn't stay in the swarm trap, Matt. They went out and they got on the ground, and they just started kind of crawling all over each other in a little clump like this on the ground. And that was just so odd. And we still don't know completely why, but we just about given up on them ever becoming one of our colonies. But she has done so much work and learned so much, and she's on the side of kind of the less is more. Don't
Mm-hmm.
do too much with them because you might weaken them, and you got a stronger, more hardy breed of bees if you don't spend too much time messing with them. You don't feed them too much. Um, and so she's not really gotten into them that much. But we're going to harvest some honey this year, and
Good.
that's going to be really fun. And we're
How
going
did
to.
she learn about it?
She learned about it through an organization, I was going to mention them later, called the School of Traditional Skills. There's a teacher there named Adam Martin, and he teaches beekeeping for them, does some classes, and he's written a book about it. And I can't remember the name of the book, but um, he does what's called Layens style. Your hives are called Langstroths; they go
Yeah.
vertically, and he uses what's called a Layens style, and the
Mm.
colony builds horizontally instead
Okay.
of vertically. Um, so that's what we've been practicing, and that's who we learned it from. The School of Traditional Skills. They have classes on tons of stuff: gardening, cultivating, livestock of all types, bread making, freeze drying, all kinds of things that we've learned from them. So we've really benefited from that membership, and a number of our friends have also. So
Yeah.
I really recommend them to everybody because they've been such a blessing to us. But that's where she learned about it, and then she also, the beekeeping community. You've probably figured this out. It's pretty welcoming, in the sense that, hey, I'll show you how I do what I do. So there's a lady nearby here that had Lily come over and showed her a bunch of her things, her extractor, and different things that she does with them. So
Yeah.
that's been very helpful too. But
Yeah. Having a mentor is key for
yeah, I
beekeeping.
agree.
I
I agree.
texted Mr. Mike. It seemed like that last spring and summer, nearly every other day, I think I was texting him a question. But the bees have been fun. I actually, it's probably a little bit harder to get into it because you have to know what you're doing, and you have to buy the supplies.
Right.
You do chickens, you know,
For
day
almost
one.
nothing.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, people give us chickens. They say, "Hey, we got a few chickens. Do you want them?" Because they know we do chickens too. I mean, like, it's not hard to
right,
get chickens. They're not expensive. They get expensive if you feed them enough, but
yeah. Well, I will say though, I think though I spend less time in a year with my bees than I do
yeah,
my chickens. I mean, I got to check my chickens every single day.
right,
Um, I will say if anybody's listening and wondering about like the chickens, and we maybe can move on from them, but I've had them in a built a coop and would have like chicken wire fenced in area for them. I've had that, and it's permanent. And of course, I know you free range yours.
yeah,
Not everybody can do that because living with a bunch of neighbors or
yeah,
wild animals or whatever, it's a little bit harder to do that for some people. But I have mine in an electric fence. I have electric netting, and I
yeah,
can move them. My coop is on an old trailer, a Harbor Freight trailer that I built. I converted into a coop, and I can pull it around with a four wheeler. So that's nice. But the only problem is the kids can't step over the fence to go check to get the eggs and feed them and water them for me. They're not tall enough to do
yeah,
that. And so
right.
um, one downside to the electric fence, but anyway, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So I've
Have you
really
ever
enjoyed.
heard of Have you ever heard of Joel Salatin?
Yeah, yeah. He's out here in
Yeah.
Virginia. I've been to his farm out in
Oh,
Stanton,
cool.
outside of Stanton. Yeah,
Well, we
that's really cool.
use a lot of his techniques for raising chickens, including building chicken tractors, moving
Yeah,
them every day. So the chickens are still protected. We don't. Well, we used to let them out just to roam around, and we still do that to some degree. But we
oh, okay.
also move the chicken tractors every day, so they're on fresh grass all the time.
Oh,
And
good.
so we wouldn't have to let them out if we didn't want to. And so somebody that has a limited amount of space, or, neighbors' dogs or whatever, you can keep them in the chicken tractor and just still move them around your yard if you do it every day. That's still very doable.
Yeah. We I don't have them yet, but me and a buddy purchased. I mean, we purchased 60 meat birds, Cornish rock birds or
Cornish
something like that.
cross.
Cornish,
Cornish cross. That's the most common breed of meat bird.
maybe the big white ones, but
Yes.
they're I think 3 weeks old. He still got them, but I'm gonna get them probably next weekend. And I've got a little chicken tractor. It's simple. It's made out of PVC pipe and some chicken wire,
Yeah.
and it'll take two of us. But me and a kid, we'll just get on each side and scoot it over
There you go.
to a new section of grass every day.
Yeah.
And so, but those birds, I'm excited about them. I mean, we only have them for 9 weeks. Like they're 9 weeks old when we kill them.
Yeah.
And they're so big, they'll barely fit in a crock pot. So,
I think
so that's
chickens, a lot of people, I think, get started in homesteading with chickens. And I mean, we make jokes about it being a gateway drug and stuff. You said yes to chickens. So now you got pigs and cows and horses and everything. You're a full-time
Mhm.
farmer because you said yes to chickens once. That's a funny joke, but it really is, one of the easier ones to dive into if somebody out there is thinking about what should I do first, or, it's not hard to raise chickens and they can really benefit your life a lot. I mean, we have eggs all the time, and it saves you so much money because eggs are so expensive, but it's just a really good one to get started with. And that's how really we got started. And my wife Anna, she was doing chickens before we were even married. That was one of my one of my what's the word, part of my dowry, I guess you might say, part of the bride price, was that I came and I helped butcher chickens one day.
Okay.
And her dad, when we were courting and he saw that I was willing to come and help process the birds, he's like, this guy is quality. He's got my approval. So
Yeah,
that was part of our courtship was through chickens.
that's funny. That's really good.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say too, as we were talking about chickens, it made me think. And rabbits are very similar to chickens in the
Oh,
sense of
really?
like you can put them in a little chicken tractor.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's usually the babies.
I've never done rabbits before.
I think most people, and Nate Eisner, if he were on here with us, he could talk about this. But I've helped him process some, and they're so easy to process. Easiest animal. I mean,
Really?
from killing it to having it in a Ziploc bag. 5 minutes, maybe. They're so fast.
Wow.
But you can have your cage where you have your males and your females, but once they have the babies, um, put them in a little chicken tractor, a little small one. It doesn't have to be very big at all, a few feet long, and you just move them around on the grass, and you kill them when they're pretty young. And anyway, it's pretty simple. I think it's very
Wow.
low cost to get into rabbits, but not everybody wants to eat little bunnies. I know my family.
You got
My
to be a
family
real
won't.
man to eat a bunny.
My family won't touch them. They'll eat everything else, but not rabbits. Um, I will say too, bees are fun, but I think maybe my favorite animal that I've done as an adult on my own, and that was um, in November of 24. I got two pigs, as little pigs, and then I butchered them the last weekend of March. So I only had them, what, 5 or 6 months, something like that.
Uh-huh.
One of them was over 300 pounds. One was like 275 or something. They were both, I mean, they could have gone a little bit longer, but I didn't want it to get too hot. Like I was
Yeah.
trying to still pick a cool weekend to process them. And I rotated them. I started them in the same the same electric fence that my chickens are in, the 3 foot tall fence. And then I ended up just using like one strand towards the end because they were used to the electric fence. They wouldn't touch it. But I had an easy experience with them. I mean, it was a big investment buying all that electric fencing and different stuff I needed for them. But but yeah, just moving them from one location to the next, they went right over like they were supposed to. Some people, it could take them a half a day to get the pigs to move out of the electric fence area to the new one. For me, it was like you
Oh.
open the gate, boom, they go. Um,
What
so I
breed
moved them
of
all.
pig did you have?
What now?
What breed did you get? Do you remember?
Oh, I feel like it was half like Berkshire, big, big black or something. I can't remember. I don't remember. It was a mix, but they were
It's
very.
interesting the different breeds of pigs that are out there. We heard about there's a breed of pig that will eat grass, and I
Mm,
had no idea pigs would eat grass.
I think pigs eat anything.
Well, this might be true too.
I mean, I had them in parts of my yard and in some grass, and they ate every bit of it. I had them in the woods, and they would just root and eat everything. But mostly, I had them in the woods, and so um, I just moved them all around my property, and I love those things. They were sweet pigs at the end, and I had such a good experience with them, and ended up with it from a money saving standpoint, not really. If you factor out factor out the electric fence, because I'm planning on using that for other things. But if it's just like I spent $1,100 on feed for those things. The last 2 or 3 weeks of their lives, they were eating 25 pounds a day each.
Oh my gracious! You
So
you
I was pouring them a 50-pound bag of feed out there like for the last like maybe the last 2 weeks. They would eat so much,
that is
but
incredible. A 50-pound bag
yeah,
every day.
it might have taken them a day and a half to eat it, but yeah, they were eating the feed, and so I spent like 1,100 and ended up with uh, 200 something pounds of meat. So I spent like $5 a pound, 5.50 a pound or something, and so I probably didn't save a whole lot of money, but they were, you know,
But they're probably
all
better for you,
natural.
right?
Oh yeah, natural, organic, whatever. Like they had nothing bad at all.
I mean,
So
think about it. If you're at the grocery store and you see fully organic, completely natural, very, very healthy, relatively speaking, I'm not sure you can say bacon is healthy, but relatively speaking, this meat is uh, is all natural for the same price as a highly processed, full of chemicals, you know, much worse for you piece of
mhm,
meat for the same price. That's not a hard decision. I'm buying the healthier stuff every time for the same price.
for sure,
Come on. That's a
for
good
sure.
deal.
I'll say this too because I haven't said it yet. I do. Chickens, they don't need much land at all. You can do that on a half an acre or less than that.
Oh yeah.
Rabbits, you don't need very little land. Bees, whatever. I mean, you can do them in a little neighborhood. Just don't tell your just don't tell your neighbors. Um,
Uh-huh.
but pigs, you have to have a little bit more land. But um, I rotated them on probably 2 acres of woods
Okay.
for five
Yeah.
months. So it wasn't a lot, and I could have started back over. I could have done 4 paddocks and then started back over. They don't care whatever.
Right.
They're just gonna so. But that was fun, and you have to know how to process. If you're going to process them yourself, that's it. Yeah, you got to. If you want to save money, you got to process them yourself, and you need a lot of equipment and strength and
Right.
invite
Well, but
people over to
you had a lot of that already because you've
deer.
done deer and other
Yeah,
hunting.
yeah. So, but those were fun. I want to do that again. They take time. You have to check on them every day. They always knock the bucket of water over. So I finally figured out how to. I put some of those metal T-posts in the ground next to the bucket, and I ratchet strapped the bucket to the T-post, and they wouldn't knock that over. And I had the little nozzles on the bottom for them to suck. Um, but it took me a while to figure that out. I tried to make them a little house out of pallets so they could get out of the weather because I had them over
Yeah.
over the winter,
Right.
November through March. and so it would snow, and they're laying on their hay in their little house I made them. But when they were older, I was moving them like every week or probably every 2 weeks towards the end, and so it was a lot of work to do that, but I enjoyed it. So
Good.
that's my experience with raising animals. I'd like to get into some milk goats one day,
Okay.
but but because
I've
I don't
milked
have
goats. I've milked goats.
yeah, I've never had their fresh goat milk, but I'm sure it's good. I'm sure I would like it.
Well, I think it depends on the breed that you get. Some breeds have better milk than others. I have heard that some goats give milk if you feed them right and take care of them well, that you can't tell the difference between that and cow's milk. They
Yeah,
taste the same. It's just the same. That is not my experience. The goat milk that I've had has a little bit of a strange aftertaste sometimes. But really, if you cook with it, or if you put chocolate syrup in it or something,
of
or you
course.
use it on your cereal or different things people might use milk for, if you're not drinking it straight, you really can't tell. So I would encourage people to do milk goats, but I can say that probably the animal that has benefited my family the most, I don't know, it'd be kind of a toss up probably between chickens and our milk cow, but our Jersey milk cow has been an incredible blessing to our family. And I've told you before that we save that milk cow pays for herself every week.
Wow.
Last time we did the math, it was like $40 in the black that she saves us, because we use, not only do we drink her milk, but we have cream to put in the coffee, so we don't buy coffee creamer anymore. We can make our own sour cream. We can make
Wow.
yogurt, our own yogurt. We
Really?
make our own butter. So all of those things that we used to spend money for in the grocery store, we are now doing ourselves. Now there's a lot of money up front. That cow cost us like, well, we had somebody invest with us, so it's kind of take a share of her. But the price was around $2,200, and she was going to have a calf, so that made her a little more valuable. And she's also A2 genetics, so that makes her more valuable. So, but that's a lot to put out up front, and then you got to
Yeah.
feed her every week, and you got to have room if you're going to get a milk cow, a family milk cow. You got to have room to have her have pasture.
Right.
It depends on your grass. It depends on a lot of things, but you can graze a cow. One cow can graze on 2 acres pretty easily. So, 2 to 3 acres is all you really need for grazing a milk cow. But all of those things we used to spend money on in the grocery store, we don't spend money anymore. So
Yeah.
she's actually saving us money. Now, eventually, she's going to have saved us the entire purchase price of getting her in the first place. And then we're going to, she had a bull calf, which we made a steer. And so he's going to be in the freezer this year.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really good meat. Now, it's not going to be cheaper than buying ground beef at the store, but it's going to be better for us, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be about the same price. But that has been a huge blessing to our family, and a lot more than I thought it would be. It's a lot of work, milking twice a day. We're right now getting about 4 gallons a day, or close to it, 3 at least. And so, some of it we give to friends, or we drink milk at every meal, and we make as much butter as we can, and we have just honestly so much dairy. It's it's just a ton, but it saves. I don't spend any time in the dairy section anymore, Matt. The only thing I buy dairy at the store is sliced cheese.
Cheese. Yeah.
We're not making cheddar cheese yet, but we can make some mozzarellas and some other. Anna even made some that she fried in oil, and we all had cheese sticks not too long
Wow.
ago. So there's different types of cheese. We've started with some softer cheeses, but man, it's just been incredible. Honestly, a lot more than I ever anticipated. I never would have thought that I would have had a milk cow and that I'd be milking twice a day, and that I'd be preparing to. I'm going to pay someone to butcher the calf. I'm not going to butcher him myself.
Yeah.
But I never would have seen myself getting to that point. But hey, I said yes to chickens all those years ago. So now, now I got it all, except
Yeah.
for pigs. We haven't done pigs.
I think when I think about, getting the pigs and getting these meat birds, part of it is, yes, it benefits the family from like a health standpoint. We're eating healthier food. That's
Right.
it. And then another reason why I get it is I want the kids to experience it. Even if it's just
Yeah.
one time, we get them, and if it was a bad experience, okay, well, at least the kids saw it,
Yeah.
And I want them to help me some. It's a little bit harder to get them to help me than I would like, but anyway, but then some of it too is just I just enjoy it. I really do. That may be the main reason I do some of this. It's just because I have fun with it. But
I think that's good for you.
Yeah,
I mean, they call it a hobby farm for a reason, but there's so many other hobbies that are not as beneficial as getting out in nature and learning how to work with some of God's creations and benefit from the world God has made. And really, you're taking dominion, you're holding dominion in the earth when you manage your property, manage your livestock. That's just really, it's good for a family, and it's good for a man to do that type of work.
right.
It really, I think it feeds your soul.
Yeah, and the way that we're raising these animals, me and you both, I think is probably the way that God intended it to. I mean, He wants it to be. We're caring for the animals. I mean, these pigs. We were gathering up white oak acorns by some trees in the backyard and taking it out there and giving it to them in the front. Like they were eating just natural stuff, and they were
Yeah.
cared for. They had a place to sleep. They never ran out of food and water. They were happy.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like that was the right thing to do. Now I could have had them in one little pen. Some people may have to just keep them in a pen and they're laying in mud and junk the whole time. Like that may be all they could do.
Yeah.
But in our situation, we felt good about it that we were able to do it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I think that our family, my desire is that we be as independent as we can be. I don't want to be dependent on a supply chain that can break down because we're holding shipping tankers off the coast and not allowing them to offload. And now suddenly I can't buy the food and supplies that I need for my family. I don't want to be dependent on the grocery store. I want to be able to provide, to produce and not just consume the things that we need. And so that's part of my motivation behind trying to develop slowly. And I think that's another thing I would say to someone who's just thinking about getting into this. Just go one step at a time. Don't try to dive off into everything at once. Take your time and just start with one thing and add things slowly. That's been a really good thing for us that we learned from some of the people that have taught us is, hey, just take it one step at a time. Try to develop little by little the infrastructure that you need. Our next big project is to install gutters all the way around our house and to establish a rain collection system. I'm telling you, Matt, Ezekiel, my oldest son, did the math. It is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gallons a year that we would capture off the roof, that then we wouldn't have to tax our well. We would have all of the water we would need for the garden, we would need for the animals, way more than we would ever need, or even be able to store. Our storage systems would be overflowing before they would run dry. So
yeah, I've
it's
thought about
amazing.
that. I would love to have something like that to where you just open a switch on the barrel or whatever, the nozzle, and it runs in the PVC pipe in the garden and waters everything for you.
Yeah.
That's what. So you plant something right next to the PVC pipe. You poke a hole in the PVC pipe, and it waters it. And I
Yeah.
guess you would have to almost be going downhill a little bit. But anyway, I would love to do something like that one day. That would be so easy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
our garden is pretty big. It's 50 by 75 plot of garden.
Yeah, that's good.
And, we've been developing that a little bit at a time, but an important part of it is developing the soil. And, I was telling you about how I wasn't really telling you about how we do it, but just that we do a lot with compost, and we try to get the compost pile to work. And we've learned how to do it from a man named Noah. Oh, I know so many Noahs, and one of them is my son. I can't think of his last name. Maybe Noah Sanders. He does redeemingthedirt.com is his website. And he's spent a lot of time researching and learning from really wise people about how to create a great compost pile. And it's basically a combination of green vegetation and then brown vegetation. So green would be the stuff that's like your grass clippings, where you cut it when it's alive. And then brown would be things like leaves that fall to the ground. They died before they hit the ground, so they're kind of more brown material. And then you got your feces, or your organic. Your organic, it's all organic material, but you got your manure that you use to help improve the bacteria and to help the organic material break down within your compost pile. So you kind of do a mixture of these things. And I wish I could tell you exactly the mixture. Hey, adventurers, ready to level up your outdoor game? At Goose Feet Gear, they're committed to keeping you crazy warm without weighing you down. I've known the founder and owner, Ben Smith, for nearly 2 decades, and his commitment to quality is outstanding. Their custom down socks, jackets, and pants are made in the USA and packed with premium 850 plus fill power goose down. Perfect for backpacking, camping, or hunting. Tailored to you with 10% off if you use the promo code FATHERHOOD. Check out goosefeetgear.com and feel the ultralight difference. That's goosefeetgear.com. I can't remember exactly the order that all those things go in. Anna would know better than me. But as basically you put a layer of green, a layer of brown, a layer of manure, and then you get it really wet. And then you do green, brown, and manure, get it really wet. You do that about 2 or 3 times. You get a stack of compost about, I don't know what we have, probably 4 feet tall. And you let it sit. And it sits for about 2 weeks. And you keep a metal pole in the middle so you can see how warm it gets. And once it gets hot enough, because that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to get it to be hot. But you don't want to get too hot, so you don't leave it there forever. You let your post, your metal pole sit in there, and maybe it's only 3 or 4 days that it does this. I can't remember, but once the like a little wire hanger or something in the middle, once you can't really touch it because it's too hot, you can't like grab it and hold, but it's you have to let go. Then that's when you want to turn it. So then you flip it over. You turn it into just next door, like right next to it. You just mix it up, and then you stick your pole down in it, and you wait 2 or 3 days more, or a week more. And when it's too hot to touch again, you flip it again, and then you might add another layer or 2. But Noah Sanders talks a lot more about that and has a lot more detail at redeemingthedirt.com. Maybe we'll get them to be a sponsor too.
Yeah.
of our podcast. But
and so I don't think anybody will be thinking this, Jared. I don't think. But just to state it, you're not the one going out there and pooping in your compost pile, right?
No, you don't use human manure. No, you scoop up the poop that the cow drops, and if you can gather chicken droppings, that's good too. But
either one, cows or
either one.
And we generally use
rabbits are good. I didn't know
rabbit's good fertilizer.
Yeah. They say that fish droppings are a great fertilizer. So if you clean your fish bowl out, the water in there, not all the water, but the stuff at the bottom that you're sucking out is really good fertilizer. Anyway, the point is that that's a really good way to make really solid um, compost that's very, very good for our garden. And so I'd encourage people to go to redeemingthedirt.com and he's really, really Christ-centered and has a real ministry mindset about his gardening and how people can use their gardening to reach people's lives and their hearts. And I think that's pretty noble and admirable.
Yeah.
Anyway, Matt, why don't we close up our episode tonight? What final closing thoughts do you have to share with us tonight about this?
A few things. I wish I had fish. Wish I had a pond. I'd really miss eating fish. I used to eat. We'd go catch them all the time growing up in the river and in ponds. And
well, some people do. They just create a farm and they just get a pool. Those inflatable pools you can buy, and they just fill it up with water and they balance it the way it would be in a pond, and they throw some fish in there and they stock it up. I'm not kidding. I had a neighbor in Virginia when we lived in Fredericksburg, and he across the street, he had, I don't know how big it was. It was probably like 15 by 15 or something. And it was like a kiddie pool, and he just put some carp in there or some sort of fish that he stocked. So you could still do it.
Kind of sounds redneck, but hey, that's what I do. So, May's going to hate that you gave me that idea.
She's going to love it when you feed her, though.
Yeah. So, one quick point: if whoever's listening, if you're interested in getting a meat grinder, I would recommend LEM. I've had mine for 12 years, 13 years. Paid $400 for it, and have probably saved $2,000 on meat, $3,000 probably between pork and deer. And I do about 150 pounds of deer meat a year, and it just makes that hamburger meat. I mean, it's great. I would recommend that. Another reason why I do the animals, I was just thought about it a minute ago, is when I'm processing the deer, when I'm processing pigs, me and some two buddies will be doing 90 chickens in May. All of that, you're with friends. You can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Friends and family. But it's just some of my favorite days of the year is when two or three buddies come over and we start early in the morning. We just help each other, and everybody's so selfless. Like, they want to help, or they'll bring a little bit of meat and I'll grind it up for them. They help me for hours, and I supply the bags for them and the grinder, and we just all work together and just have a blast.
Yeah.
We count up how much money we've saved at the end of the day, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Great. So, I'm just thankful that my kids get to experience it like I did. There's some things that they don't get to experience. Like, I played on the river a lot growing up and different things in South Alabama, but at least they do get to experience the animal piece of it, and that's fun. So I love it, and I would encourage any listener who's interested in it, if they have any questions, to reach out to us. Sure. I'm sure we would be happy to help mentor them or whatever they need. We could both talk about bees and both talk about chickens more, milk cows. So
that's for sure.
Yeah.
We can at least point you in the right direction, even if we don't know the answer. So,
right.
100%. Well, I really appreciate all of your thoughts, and I've had a good time fellowshipping with you around the meat grinder before a couple times. And that's been good. That's been good for our relationship, I think. So, I would just encourage people to get into this world and take as much of it as you want. Don't try to bite off too much right away, but all of the bites that I've taken have been good for me, good for my family, good for my children's experiences. So I would encourage you dads out there that are listening in, and anybody else that's tuned in, I'd encourage you to look into this further. Go to Redeeming the Dirt, go to School of Traditional Skills, any of these different places. Find yourself a good bee community, some beekeepers nearby. Get yourself a meat grinder, and find out what God has for you in this part of the world. It really has been great for us, and we've enjoyed it. And so I encourage you all to do it. Someday we'll have to have Tony and Nate come on here. Nate will talk about raising rabbits, and Tony will talk about making incredibly delicious looking food. He's so good at making his own meals that look amazingly good.
Yeah.
But, well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope that you'll either like and subscribe on this video, or maybe you'll make a comment, whatever it may be. We appreciate the interaction. You can email us, dads@preacherdad.com. That's DADS @preacherdad.com. And we would love to hear from you and interact with you if you'd like to. And you can also check out preacherdad.com if you'd like to donate to this cause. We would appreciate that as well. Or visit the sponsors you've heard about on this podcast. Well, God bless you. We surely are grateful for all 10 of you that tuned in tonight. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Fatherhood Friday, brought to you by the Preacher Dad Podcast. Have a great night.